Hey everyone, welcome to another best of edition of the Shared Security Show. I'll be back next week with an all new episode, but this week I've selected another one of my favorite interviews, and that was episode 63 of our monthly show with Jayson E. Now, if you don't know who Jayson Street is, well, let me tease you with a little bit of his bio. Jayson battled a dragon during the fire run in Barcelona, Spain. He accidentally broke into a shark tank in the Dominican Republic and climbed the Pyramid of Giza until the guards carrying AK 47s expressed their displeasure. He consulted with the Secret Service in 2007 on the Wi Fi security of the White House and has had tea with a Lebanese general in Beirut. Jayson is only 1 degree away from Kevin Bacon after awkward hugging Oliver Stone and Jimmy Fallon. He started in security and law enforcement over 30 years ago and has always striven to make things more secure. Jayson has been in the information security industry for well over 17 years and once broke into a high-scale hotel in the south of France, barefoot, wearing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pajamas. He was also noted as the best janitor of all McDonald's in the Southeast Texas region for 2 consecutive years. And that is just a small snapshot of the man, the myth, the legend, Jayson E. Street. Enjoy the interview.
Hello and welcome to the Shared Security Podcast, episode 63. I'm Scott Wright, Streetwise Security Coach, here with Tom Eston in Cleveland. And we have a special guest, none other than 2006's Time Man of the Year. It's Jayson Street. How are you doing, Jayson?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
So
Awesome.
I got that news from your website. I'm sure it's reliable.
It actually is. I am 2006 Times Person of the Year, one of the Times Persons of the Year.
Of course, you sucked me in, and I had to go look at it too. So.
Yeah. Well, see, that was the funny thing. It's like I always like putting it on there to be funny. It's only been taken seriously once. It's like most everybody understands the joke. Times Person of the Year for 2006 was you.
Yes.
So if you were around in 2006, you were Times Person of the Year. And I was actually giving a talk. I think it was either in Malaysia or Singapore. And I'm dressed all hackerish. It was a business security or IT conference. So everybody was dressed really nice. And then they look at me and they're like, all the announcer's not impressed with me at all. And he starts reading my bio and he gets to the point where, and he was Times Person of the Year for 2006. Everybody, please. And he just like, I didn't have the heart to tell him the story. It's like, usually when people bring that up, I tell everybody what the joke is. But with him, I just, I didn't want to hurt his feelings.
Just let it go, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, a great way to introduce you.
Yeah. So Jayson is a little bit about his background. So he's an InfoSec Ranger at Pony Express, which we'll talk a little bit about what Pony Express is and what they do. He's also a senior partner at Krypton Security and CEO of Stratagem One Solutions. He's also the author of 2 books, the Dissecting the Hacks series. Any plans to release a third on that, Jayson?
It's actually, it's a trilogy. I'm ending the trilogy, and it's actually it's the end of the trilogy, and it's sort of jump-starting the next 3 books as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. He's also got a host of different security certifications, been interviewed on TV and newspapers and magazines. And he also has the title of being notorious. Is that right?
I'm going to get so much crap. It's like, because I've been labeled as a notorious hacker for this one episode, this one interview. And then I got another ridiculous title for another TV interview that I did recently. And my National Geographic documentary comes out May 16th. And they put me in there as world-class hacker. And I'm
nice.
I'm going to get so much crap for that. I mean, it's just I'm trying to get out ahead in front of it and stuff, because I know it's going to happen. So I'm just going to be like upfront and honest. It definitely says I'm a world-class hacker, and I'm like, no, that's not going to go well.
So we have to ask, how do you become a notorious hacker?
I don't know. It's like if I'm in an indication, you fail a lot. It's like if I'm in the indicator of what it means.
Well, it's most likely because of all the shenanigans that you've gotten into over your career, right? I mean, you've had companies pay you to break into all kinds of different facilities and things like that. What would be the most memorable for you from kind of all your adventures that you've done in your career?
Oh, well, I have to say, it's like I haven't talked too much about it, but it's like, statute of limitations has got to be over by now. It's like, but I accidentally robbed the wrong bank successfully in Beirut, Lebanon.
In Beirut, of all places.
I literally came like there was 3 different things that were binary, 1 or a 0, and if it would have ended up as 0 instead of a 1, I would be in Lebanese prison right now, because it turns out that who hasn't robbed the wrong bank before? I mean, it happens. Okay, it's like I don't know why they were overreacting. It's like just because I'd compromised their systems and they had to spend the next rest of the day doing forensic wipes on the whole branch, which I found out later, which was sad. I'm sorry, but no. So it started off was I had 2 clients in Beirut in September. One of them was we were doing the filming and they agreed to do the filming stuff for it, but I had a client actually before that day. And they wanted me to do test their security in their banks, and so I was going to their different branches, breaking in. I'd already succeeded at one of the branches, going to the next one, and we're going off script on like a couple of the targets, and we were like, and I just drank a lot of Pepsi. I'd already had like a 1.5 liter bottle, and for some reason the byproduct of Diet Pepsi has gotten me into trouble. I almost died being off the cliff in Bulgaria, like a year or so ago. Before that. And so I'm really having to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, the guy says, okay, the branch is just down the street, and go in. And he's trying to tell me what to do, and I'm like, okay, I know what to do. I just need to go to the bathroom. So it's like I walk down the sidewalk. It's like walking really fast. I see the branch. I get into the branch. Don't look at anything except for where would I find the restroom. And it's on the 2nd floor. It's like, because in Europe and a lot of other countries, it's like the bathrooms are usually not on the 1st floor. It's either in the basement or on the 2nd floor. And so I go up to the 2nd floor. I find the men's room, which is actually a finding because I should not have been able to get to there without being challenged. So I get up to the 2nd floor, go to the restroom, going, oh, I feel much better. Oh, look, there's someone sitting at the computer. I should start compromising now. So I go to the machine. I compromise the machine, plug in my USB drive, and then I go to the next machine that's right next to them. I compromise them. Everything's going great. I go to the next one, and the guy looks at me, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm here with Microsoft. Here's my fake Microsoft badge. It's like I'm doing an audit of a merger acquisition that we're doing. Here's this forged email on an iPad. That tells you that I have authorization. And he's like, you need to talk to the supervisor. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go to the supervisor. So we go to the supervisor. She starts reading this forged email. And this forged email has 2 outcomes, usually. Okay. Outcome 1 is they read the email. And after listening to me, they go, that sounds totally legit. Let me give you all access to everything else. And I mean, really, that email has worked. It's like, and the next day I altered it a little bit, and it worked very well in that one. And so then that's option 1. Option 2 is this isn't good enough. I need more authorization, or I need you to explain what you're doing here. And then I use the email to pivot off of, well, I've got more documentation in my car. Let me go get that, because I've already been successful. I've already compromised 2 of the machines. I've already done it. It's like, now I just need to escape. And so I say, hey, I've got more documentation in my car. Let me go get it. And then I leave for 2 minutes before I come back to educate. I leave for 2 minutes showing that I successfully escaped. Well, it turns out there's a 3rd option that was unbeknownst to me. And that 3rd option is when they read the email and the lady looks up at me going, this is for the bank next door. What were you doing in here? And why were you plugging things into our computers?
Oh.
And I'm like, if any occurrence when I'm getting challenged or anything, I have all these things on the top of my head to say. I know exactly how to do it. It's like to totally avoid and just avoid capture and just leave, right? When she told me that, I was just like, my first words, I kid you not, were, well, this is unfortunate. And I mean, and my next thoughts were like, I just robbed you. I'm sorry about that.
And
this
then,
is not
and then
good.
your next thought then was, and this is a great cover for my next one. To say, oh, I'm just in the wrong
I'm
bank.
like, it was really horrible. And so I'm like, it was so funny because I did not know what to do, because I mean, like, I literally like, oh, this is not good. And so the next thing I know, I'm in the manager's office now, surrounded by about 7 people speaking Arabic in a very angry manner. And I'm like, this is not good for me. And it's like, I'm not happy with this outcome. And so I start to panic a little bit. And so I go and say, look, it was just all this exploit does is opens up Notepad and writes a message because it's educational. It's like, it's not dangerous. It's not a virus or anything like that. Let me show you. And I plugged the USB drive into the manager's computer so the Notepad will pop up. So the Notepad pops up and I'm like, see, it just says, yeah, this just happened. That's all it does is run the Notepad. And I turn around and I look at their faces and I realize, oh, yeah, I just compromised the third machine, didn't I? With witness. So
oh no.
that didn't work well. But so the good thing is, the 3 things that saved me was the the one thing was that the payload, because we were going to be using this payload for the documentary the next day. Darren wanted to put this PowerShell exploit on it, which bring up a command prompt and have a whole bunch of stuff going on. But he told me, say, but if you do this one, you have to pull it out at a certain time or it's actually going to compromise and affect the machine. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that one because that would be bad. If I would have had that payload on there, I would be in jail. It's like, there's no discussing it. It's like, it would have been obvious. It's like, I was like, let's just stick with the Notepad popping up and then typing. Yeah, this just happened. So that was one way that I avoided jail. The second one was the case. Usually I don't put a case on my on the rubber ducky that I have. It's like, I like having it just bare because it looks scarier and gives them a chance to know something's wrong. Yeah. But on this one, we decided to go with the case, and it actually had the rubber ducky logo on it, name on it. So that was great because I was able to Google. I ended up in the headquarters of this bank. They took me to their office. So their IT team could look at it, and they're like, the IT team, when they came in and they saw it, they're like, this has got a virus on it. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It's like, we opened it up in Ubuntu and it ran and it did this code. And I was like, well, that's just because Ubuntu's awesome and allows Windows shortcuts. It's like, it's not a virus. And I told them, like, Google USB rubber ducky and see what it says. And it's like, and so they looked at the logo, they Googled it, and it came up with the hack 5 sites. Like, see, look, this is a legitimate tool. It's like, I'm pen testing, and I had to talk them through everything. And I mean, I'm doing all these kind of jokes. I'm literally trying to social engineer my way out of prison, right? So I'm talking to them like, yeah, it's like, yeah, it was terrible. I'm sorry. I just had to go to the bathroom. And trust me, it's like, if I didn't go to the bathroom when she told me I was in the wrong bank, I would have gone to the bathroom then. So it's like, it's a good thing that I did first. It's like, and I'm saying all this, and I'm going like, I'm American. What are you going to do? It's like, I'm trying to play every card that I can and be as nice as I can. And it worked out great. And then the director of security comes in, and he's not amused at all. And so I spend like 2 hours. I'm actually giving them a free consultation because I explained to them all the things that they did wrong that allowed me to get away with what I did. And so I'm actually doing this. And by the time the director of security gets there and gets briefed on everything, he's sort of feeling better about it. He calls the director of security for the bank I was supposed to be robbing. And then they start talking, and they're talking. And this is a big thing in Beirut. Their prominent languages are French, Arabic, and English. So he's actually having this conversation in these 3 languages with them. And like, the only thing that I really picked up was toward the end of the talk, he was feeling more relaxed. I could tell by his body language, it was a better situation. And he actually said, "It's like, do I have to split the fees now with the other bank?"
Oh, that's funny.
So when he said that, I knew it was going to be okay. It's like, and then I was like, and also there was they wanted to know who we were working for. It's like, and it turns out that the guy I was subcontracted through, his family actually has some kind of huge feud with that bank. based on some kind of business practice that went bad or something that's in the court system. So if they would have found out that I was working directly with him, guess what? Prison. So I literally, as I'm leaving the door in the office of those IT people, as I'm leaving the door, I say, okay, we're good now, right? I gave you consulting, I for free consulting. So you no jail time, right? I mimic, handcuffs. Like, we're good. And he's like, yeah, you can go. And I'm like, okay, bye-bye. And I got the out of there. So wow. I literally accidentally robbed the wrong bank. But
that may be one of the most epic stories that I've heard, which makes you notorious, Jayson. You know that now, right?
Now we know.
At least in Beirut, for sure.
So it kind of begs the question, Jayson. I guess if people are thinking of taking social engineering assessments as a profession, right? Would you advise it if they have a young family that depends on them?
Well, I've got a young family that depends on me. It's just I really make bad life choices. I'm literally going to South Africa in May, and the thing I'm looking forward to the most is I'm going skydiving, crocodile diving, and shark cage diving. So to me, that sounds like fun. Other people have looked at me like it's not as fun, but I think it's amazing. So I always tell my wife, if I survive it, it'll be awesome.
I'm sure she appreciates that too.
Yeah. Well, I've got good insurance, so either way, it's win-win.
She's all taken care of, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
But yes.
Oh, I was just going to say, so, obviously you've had so many different life experiences and just in your career, doing all the different types of pen tests that you've done and social engineering and all of that. What would you, I guess, what kind of advice would you give, people? A lot of the people that listen to our podcast are, concerned about their privacy and security, and, this world we live in is changing every day. What kind of advice would you give them as they use technology and they're using systems? What should they be aware of?
What they need to be aware of the most is that it's not the how do I explain this? Stop worrying so much about the 0 day in the toaster that can do a pivot to your internal network that can use another 0 day vulnerability over an air gap system using radio frequencies. That's an awesome hacking conference talk.
Yeah.
But you haven't passed your SQL server yet.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you care?
Right.
I tell people it's like in my talk that I'm giving this year, it's like one of the things I start off with is I talk about the Ebola virus. That's one of the first slides in my talk on information security is about the Ebola virus, because humans suck at risk management. When the Ebola virus hit the U.S., what happened? Everybody freaked out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm going to get the Ebolas. It's like, oh my gosh, the Ebolas is coming for me. It's like the zombie apocalypse, but with Ebolas, and it sounds scary. And the last time I heard about Ebola, there was a monkey killing people. It was horrible. And when it was all said and done, when the quarantines were over, when the plague was taken care of, 2 people died from the Ebola virus. And that's tragic that 2 people died from Ebola in America. The same year in the United States, 55,000 people died from the flu and pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
But we're worried about the Ebolas. Ebolas took place of all the news and stuff, was talking about that, instead of, hey, why don't you drink orange juice and talk to a doctor when you get a cold? No one talks about that because that's not sexy and scary. But it's what's more likely going to get you. Right.
So would you say the simple things are, simple security is the best security, I guess, if you had to phrase it?
I would say it's like taking care of the basics. It's like I did a talk in Shenzhen, China last week, and what it was titled, it was only a 20-minute talk. So I said, look, here are the 5 things an attacker on your network doesn't want you to know. And one of the first things I talked about was patching. Just patching your systems. Why is MSO 867 still viable attack vector?
Yeah.
It's almost been 10 years, and that is still a viable attack vector.
Yep. Same thing with passwords too, right? I mean, that's the first thing.
Well, that was one of the other segments. I'm tired of. I tell people straight out. One of the best advice that I get to, and I tell this to taxi drivers. I tell them, stop using passwords. Passwords are dead. Stop using them. The space bar on your keyboard is a viable character in most web applications and network logins. So why aren't you using a sentence naturally written like saying, I'm tired of writing passwords? You actually put the apostrophe in I'm, you put an exclamation point at the end, you put a 0 in Word, and you've got over a 26 character passphrase that will be easy for you to remember, that you write out naturally so you don't have to write it down. And also and I tell people, use song lyrics, use movie quotes from movies that you like, because you can't reuse the same passphrase. So it's like and that way you also have a hint you can use. So instead of writing down the passphrase you need to use, write for Twitter, the Running Man. It's like for Gmail, Terminator 1. It's like for any Arnold Schwarzenegger movie is good for a good quote. And so you just have those quotes that you have in your head, so you'll know which one you're talking about. And don't make it just hasta la vista, baby, because that's stupid. But
I'll be back.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, so put it in. So write them down, the hint, not the actual passphrase. And passphrases are just easier to remember because it's the pattern recognition of the way you're typing. It's like, because you're typing naturally with a space bar. It's like, it's not trying to do Shift W, lowercase v, 9, ampersand. It's like exclamation point, capital M. It's like, that's ridiculous. Write out the sentence and then alter it a little bit.
Cool.
Good advice.
Cool. All right. Any other words of wisdom, Jayson, before we go to our timely stories?
I'm trying to think here. Hugs are good.
Hugs are good.
Yeah. I didn't mention that in your bio. I mean, you have a lengthy bio, so I had to really summarize it. But Jayson is known for awkward hugs, and you still have that webpage up, don't you? When you were
awkwardhugs.org. My all-time favorite awkward hug was after the fact because of the story that most people don't know. It's like, so I awkward hugged at DEF CON 20. I awkward hugged General Keith Alexander, who at the time was the current head of the NSA.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks that would be like, well, that's a really, amazing awkward hug. And I'm like, well, yeah, whatever. It's like, the best part, though, was 2 weeks later, I'm in Beijing, and I'm awkward hugging 2 PLA soldiers in uniform at the Great Wall of China. And Mudge, who was working at DARPA at the time, he freaking printed it out, the picture of me with the Chinese hugging. Printed it out, walked it over to Alexander's desk, and he said, "Hey, remember those that guy you awkward hugged at in DEF CON?" He's like, "Yeah, that was fun." It's like, and then Mudge like, "Here he is hugging the Chinese right now, sir."
Oh no!
Needless to say, the next year at DEF CON or Black Hat, when Alexander showed up, I didn't get to see him again.
I wonder why.
Yeah,
that is awesome. Wow. Oh, totally epic.
Spring and summer are upon us, and that means it's time for some much-needed vacation time with friends and family. But this also means that you need to be aware of data privacy and how to protect your laptops, smartphones, and key fobs while traveling. Airports and other public areas can often be targeted by attackers looking to gain access to your devices through their wireless signals. So instead of worrying about disabling or turning off wireless functions, it's so much easier to place them in a Faraday bag when they're not being used. And if you want the best protection that you can get, you want to be using Silent Pocket's premium Faraday bag product line that blocks all wireless signals. So don't forget to get yourself a Faraday bag before you head out on your vacation. And right now, you can use discount code SHAREDSECURITY and receive 10% off your order during checkout at silentpocket.com.
Is your team starting to show signs of fatigue from traditional security awareness compliance training, or from phishing assessments that target them for those teachable moments? As we've seen in recent news, these kinds of training are having a negative impact on corporate culture, and they're really not all that effective. So there has to be a better way. ClickArmor is the first gamified learning platform that helps build a self-defending team through engaging learning challenges and exercises. Its unique lesson templates, built with proven gamification techniques, let people learn and exercise important defensive concepts in a safe and fun environment. Whether you need to quickly deploy a training solution that gets people to stop clicking on things immediately, or you've got your own boring content that needs to be put into a more interesting user experience, ClickArmor can help. So go to clickarmor.ca/sharedsecurity to learn how to build a self-defending team.
So Scott, what do you think? We talk about some of the stories, and
Sure.
Jayson can
Sure.
discuss with as well.
Sounds good. Well,
Okay.
I guess we'll start by doing a little bit of political stuff, right? We'll talk about Congress approving the change in law that allows broadband companies to sell your browsing data, apparently. And
Yeah, that would never happen in Canada, right?
Never.
Canadians.
Our privacy commissioner would show up, with some Putin, and they'd make you back away. So
No, they would sell it, but then they would apologize afterwards.
that's right.
Because everyone's so nice in Canada. That's true.
Amazing. So so what do you guys think of this? Is there really what's the worst case scenario you can think of as a result of this?
Well, I mean, everyone knows that your ISP can see everything you do anyway. I think if you're privacy paranoid, and if the ISPs really do start injecting ads and then selling your information to a third party, taking some precautions is probably a good idea. Again, if that is a risk to you. But the other point is that this goes back to, I guess, Obama had made this rule, but it was never enacted to begin with. Isn't that true? So
The rule being
Actually-
that they couldn't or that they could?
they could, but they never did.
Oh, okay.
Right? From what I read, and I don't think Trump has actually officially signed this yet. Is that true, or has he? Do you know, Jayson? I'm not sure.
I don't think he has. It's like there's still some, issues with it. I think people are still fighting it. And I mean, and actually, I forgot who it was. It was the creator of Exploding Kittens, who's already vowed that if it does go through, he will purchase all the representatives who voted yes on it. He will purchase their search history and web history and put it on the internet publicly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a post that actually said something like that, right? Like all the people who voted for this should have their stuff publicized before they.
Well, it actually will be.
Yeah.
It's like, because this guy's got the money to do that, and so
Right.
The thing is that it's, once again, it's the people that have the most impact and direct impact on how information security and how the internet works are the ones that are least educated on how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to do the whole cliche, the internet's full of tubes, analogy. It just, we need to start, and this is one of the key things that it's on us. It's like the information security and the hacking community is very bad at, but has gotten better over the years, is we need to stop just talking to ourselves about how horrible things are and how stupid our legislators are, and start actually using that civic mindedness instead of like marching a protest or hitting retweet on a protest tweet and thinking that you're accomplishing something. Actually invest in time into contact your legislators, to contact people outside of this echo chamber and start educating them on what security really means. One of the best things I've done in the last 2 years is I've talked more at U.S. Chamber of Commerce events and business events and bankers associations, actually talking directly to the people who can make an impact and telling them what the threats are and what's going on. And letting them know what some of the threats are out there that they need to fix. So we need to get more of us to actually start talking. There's some good people that are out there working in the government sector that are trying to make things better, but there's not enough, and that's the key point. Katie Moe, she's doing a lot of good work with Hack the Pentagon, Hack the Army. She's making hacking a okay thing, not like she's helping reclaim the word hacking for what it was supposed to be, which is that research, that creativity, that exploration. It shouldn't be associated with criminals. And so we're getting that done. There's some people, but there needs to be more. It's like, so I challenge every person who goes out there and tweets about how horrible the government is for what they've done to the internet to actually call their legislator, to actually send an email, or not a mail, but an actual letter, because those have to be recorded and documented in the records. It's like actually put in effort and to say something. Don't just say it's bad, I don't like it, and think that's going to fix something.
Right.
Really good points. I think that's really important especially for security professionals to, if they don't already know how, to learn how to speak in layman's terms about the threats and try and get the message across.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and they may think it's difficult, but I mean, screw that. It's like I had to do an NG4 upgrade on Solaris for Checkpoint. It's like that's difficult. Okay. It's like showing my age a little bit, but I mean that's difficult. It's like talking to people and educating people and letting them know what the threats are should be easier.
Yeah. Great point.
So I mean, that kind of leads to, one of the things that I see tweeted all over the place and people talking about, especially security professionals, is everyone's got to start using VPNs. Everyone's got to start, VPNs will protect you, and, you don't want the ISP snooping in on your information. So use a VPN. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about VPNs, and I know, Scott, we've talked on the podcast before about that, and it's not a all-in-one solution to protect you, because VPNs have their own issues. There's, there's VPNs you might be able to trust, but can you really trust them? Because you're giving credentials, you're giving credit card information, all of that to a third party, and you're just assuming that information wouldn't be compromised. So is it really just is there, I guess, Jayson, maybe a question to you is, should people really trust in VPNs, or is it, again, getting back to, kind of your own personal risk assessment in what you're doing right on the internet? Is it really that risky to most people, and do they need a VPN?
I'm the kind, I always use a VPN. It's like, but I tell people, it's like, if you're trying to use a VPN because you don't want the government to know what kind of porn you're looking at, that's too bad. They know. Okay. They already know. It's like, what you're trying to protect is to make sure your neighbor doesn't know what porn you're looking at. It's like, or the guy at the hotel or on the Starbucks Wi-Fi. That's who that's who your adversary is. Okay. You got to do correct adversarial modeling here. So the key thing is, I tell people, it's like, I use a VPN not because I'm trying to hide what I'm doing on the internet.
Right.
What I'm trying to do is to make sure that the traffic on the wireless network that I'm on is secured and not being affected by the endpoint, because it's more likely, it's the higher risk.
Sure.
Is that my data might be manipulated or changed in traffic if it's on a Wi-Fi access point that's available to everyone. So I use a VPN for that. When I'm traveling overseas, I like the VPN to be on so I can access things that I might not be able to access normally, or know that it's like the data is being less likely to be tampered with as it's going over the air. I'm not looking at it for privacy. It's like, we shouldn't look at VPNs because eventually it's going to go to an endpoint that's going to be monitored. That's the same with Tor. Actually, it's easier with Tor. It's like, that's the same with any kind of VPN service. Any VPN service says that they can make you anonymous on the internet is lying to you. It's like, all it's doing is helping limit the risk that you face on your endpoint of where you started out. So if you're at your home access point and you're using a VPN, that's great. Your ISP will be less likely to gather some data on where you're going. But when that gateway comes out of, guess where it's coming out of? An ISP.
Yep.
So it's still going to be able to get tied back to you.
That's a really, really interesting interpretation, because what I think you're saying is it's more about the integrity of your session, making sure that you're not getting tampered with, essentially, on the internet.
Correct. Yeah. It's like, yeah. And also just breaking through and going through different restrictions. It's like I use Ytopia.net, and I like being able to say, I choose a gateway for Paris, or I'm choosing, or I love watching Doctor Who episodes on BBC by saying I'm coming out of London.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, that's some of the things that you can do. It's like, I love going to certain countries. It's like where it's like, we're a little bit more stricter on where you can go. And I'm like tweeting like a mofo because guess what? I'm on a VPN.
Yeah.
Do you find that there are certain places where it's really hard to get a VPN to actually work from the client side?
No. I've never had a problem, and that's the other thing. It's like with the VPN service that I use, it's like sometimes I'll have them where they'll get blacklisted, like from one access point, but then I switch from from Miami to Chicago or to New York. It's like, and then I'm in.
I'm just thinking about like if you're inside China or inside another place where they may actually have some way to block or make it more difficult.
No, China has their great firewall, and that's what they call it too.
Yeah.
Is sophisticated and it's heavily monitored. But if you're actually using a business like VPN service, it's like there's usually an agreement with the major VPN services that allow the IPsec to go through.
Okay.
And once again, I'm not trying to worry about them monitoring where I'm going to. I'm just trying to get access to it. So I mean, I'm that's what I'm really concerned with.
And in their case, I would be thinking that they're trying to limit what people can send out without being monitored.
It's like it depends. It's like, I mean, it's the same thing that I get with the way I feel about the like the American government and the way they monitor. It's like, it's like they're heavily monitoring what's going on. And I don't care. It's like if they're monitoring my Skype conversations, I just want them to give me the stop interfering with my bandwidth. It's like they have a better call. I have a better call. It's a win-win situation for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I mean, you have to assume that you're being monitored. You have to, especially in this day and age, it's like that's happening. So what you want to do is just make sure the malicious attacks are limited and at your endpoints, and that you're able to actually get out to the communications to the channels that you want to get to. Unimpeded.
That's cool. So is there any way, if someone was advising or if they were looking for a VPN, is there a top question you ask to sort of weed out the scammy ones?
Do they provide IPsec?
Yep. Yeah, because there are some VPNs that really just do, like, was it label switching or something like that, right? Where they just
most of them are glorified open VPNs.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. Make sure that they've got an actual IPsec channel. Make sure they have multiple gateways going out. It's like, I mean, and that's why I'm not making any money. I'm not giving you a referral code or anything. That's why I use Ytopia.net. It's like it is consistently for the last 5 or 6 years worked good for me. It's $60 a year, and it's worked very well for me. And it works on iPhone, Androids, Windows, Macs, and Linux machines.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right.
Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, and I think that answers the question of, can you trust your VPN? And at the end of the day, that traffic is still going out to an ISP. So, and there are a lot of shady VPN companies, especially ones recently that have been popping up, and we've seen those in the news. So, our advice to people is, if you're considering VPN, definitely do your research and, be careful because there are a lot of scams out there that are obviously trying to capitalize on this, the broadband privacy rules. And it's a lot of scare tactics that you see in typical scams after any, natural disaster or anything like that. The spam bots start kicking up, and that's how they make money.
When it comes to trust, it's like that's one of the biggest issues I have. It's like there is no conversation you can have that involves trust and the internet in a positive term. It's like you don't trust anybody. It's like it's not just a good quote from the X-Files. It's a fact. It's like I don't trust anything that goes on the internet. I tell people just simply this. Whatever you post on the internet, whatever you post online, before you hit send, before you hit enter, you remember and you analyze that, knowing that the person who hates you the most is going to be able to read that, interpret it, and share it from their perspective. Mm-hmm. Do you send it or not? Period. When I go on vacations with my family, you will see, and you can check my Facebook for this, it's like you will see either two things happen. Either it's me tweeting and Facebooking like everything's cool, and then, by the way, when we get back home, I go, oh, by the way, we were traveling for the last week. Here's all our vacation photos. Mm-hmm. Or when it's something where I can't help but let everybody know that I'm gone, there's actually someone staying at my house and watching it while I'm away. It's like it's never I'm going to trust the internet for something. Yeah. It's never going to be there's a service on the internet. It seems legit. I can trust it. You can't. There is no service on the internet that can't be compromised. There is no service or facility or application that is 100% foolproof that's going to save you from anything. So you have to understand that you have to work around that risk. You have to accept that there's that risk out there. When you drive your car, it's like from your house to the store, there is a chance a drunk driver can take you out. That's just a risk. Every time you get in that car, you're facing a risk. Just because you don't accept it or you don't acknowledge it doesn't mean it's not less likely or more likely. It's still out there. So stop trying to have the internet be safer and be more secure than your freaking highway or road that you're going down from your neighborhood.
Yep, it's just like they tell you driving. It's all about defensive driving, right?
Right.
Because, you don't know what other people are going to do, and you don't know what the internet can do because.
Yeah. You check your car. You make sure it has ABS. You make sure it has a good passenger bag. You make sure it's got a sturdy frame. You take precautions. It's like you make sure that it has, the rear view mirrors are working. But at the end of the day, it's your driving, where you're going, and how you're getting there that matters. It's like, and watching for those unknown threats and being aware that they're out there. That's what saves you, not just being on the road and the magical car. The Tesla is not going to save you with the auto. You still need to be able to be aware of the situation because there's unknown factors.
Yeah, exactly. So for moving on to VPNs, I think maybe we could end the podcast here with talking about the tornado siren issue in Dallas. I think that'd be a fun way to close out the podcast. Did you guys hear about that?
The last I heard about it, if you have newer information, that'd be great. Because I think I might have saw something where it updated something on the story. But the last I heard about it, it was a physical access where someone got into the station or something. There was a key available that if you turn the key, it gave them access to turn on the sirens. And to me, that's like going up to someone, knocking upside the head, stealing their wallet, going, I hacked his wallet. I hacked his wallet.
Yeah. Yeah. Not really a hack.
It's not a hack. It's like people like to say hack because it sounds cool nowadays. Yeah. And because less people know what it entails. And that's another fault on ours is that we need to educate more people on what hacking is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The term gets thrown around too much these days. And, I kind of took this story to think about, just critical infrastructure in general. I mean, hacking or not. How much we rely on that. And like just thinking of like we had a power outage at my daughter's school today, and they sent those code red alerts, where everybody gets the phone call in the city saying, there's a weather, alert or, an amber alert, something like that. And, when those systems potentially could be compromised, right? Or someone wanting to do some shenanigans and alerting a whole city of a, zombie apocalypse. We've seen that with the street signs, right? The construction signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it just started making me think about, protecting that infrastructure. Again, to your point, Jason, about making people aware that, especially people that may be, controlling these systems or have access to them, they need to be a little bit more security aware, because there are people that are looking to hijack those, maybe not for nation state purposes all the time, but maybe just to be mischievous or cause havoc, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a key point. It's like, I mean, and one of the key things and the best thing that happened, it's like, and I always try to look at the positive side of it, is with the Dallas alert system. It's like, you've got to have teachable moments. It's like, I mean, that's one of the things that I always try to do. I tell people, it's like, I don't do red teams. I do security awareness engagements. It's like, I'm trying to teach the employees what an actual attack would look like without the actual harm ensuing from it.
Yeah.
It's like, because your employees aren't stupid. One of the biggest fallacies, one of the biggest travesties ever incorporated into information security is the whole concept that users are stupid. Stupid user clicked on a link. Stupid user went to a website they shouldn't have gone to. And my reply is, stupid information security didn't properly train their employees. It's like every employee that is hired by a company is hired because they are competent in what they're supposed to be doing, or they don't work there. It's like, and you don't send someone on the first day of the job and you say, okay, you have all this qualification that we really like how you've done it, so just start doing your work. No, there is a training period. There's new job orientation. So why are we not, during that time of new hire orientation and that training, are we not telling them that one of the responsibilities is not just making the widget or producing the widget or marketing the widget, but it's also protecting the widget. It's also doing good information security practices. Because if you tell an employee on their first day of their job that doing good information security practices, password strategies, email etiquette, things of that nature is required for them to feed and clothe their children, guess what? They're going to do that. If a guy in a ski mask and a shotgun goes into a bank, he's usually going to have a bad day. Not because he doesn't have a good thought out plan of going, give me money and then running. It's because the employees are trained that when a ski mask and a shotgun shows up, you check the height of the person on the door, you check to see what's going on, you comply to what he does, you try to trigger the silent alarm. They test those. They test people like that. They go through those procedures. But a geek and a USB drive, nope, YOLO. It's like no one knows, and it's successful. It doesn't make them less stupid. It's just they weren't trained and they weren't taught to be aware of those threats.
It really comes down to education.
Yes. It's no matter how much we get to technology, okay, and that's one of the key things. It's like no matter how advanced we talk about our technology and how we're advancing with that and what we're doing with it, the key thing is going to be education. It's literally going to be, because at the end of the day, a human is going to be able to go yes or no to an alert. He's going to be able to die. And if there is dancing kittens on the other side of that yes or no button, okay, it's going to be a yes.
Of course.
So you
want to click on the dancing kittens, of course.
Exactly. So you have to teach the humans not to click on the buttons. It's like, because the technology can only go so far, but it can always be overridden by a human.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. Well, anything you'd want to promote, Jayson? Anything upcoming? Any talks or anything?
Well, I am very excited. May 16th, in 147 countries, global premiere on Nat Geo channel. There's episode 2 of Breakthrough, the series is called Cyber Terror, and it actually, you get to watch me from my hidden cameras and bank surveillance as I actually rob 4 banks in Beirut, Lebanon.
Oh, so awesome.
All the stuff that I talk about that I've done, and you can there's no way that you just walked in, Jayson, and plugged in a USB drive behind a teller line of a bank.
Yeah.
You actually see, oh, no, that's exactly what he did.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. When was that again?
It's May 16th. I think it's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But it's May 16th, and it's all over like they said, 147 countries, which was cool. I'm going to be in Johannesburg at the time that it comes out. So if it sucks really bad, I'll just stay in Africa.
Fighting alligators.
Exactly.
So they haven't asked you on Mr. Robot yet?
I want to be on Mr. Robot so bad it's not even fun. It's like I have not gotten that call yet, but I'm really wanting to awkward hug Elliot. It's on my list.
Totally.
And what's your favorite hacker movie?
Literally, the favorite hacker movie is still always going to be Hackers. It's like everybody talks about the cliche and all the other stuff, and the overdriven. It was still a good, fun, positive kind of hacker movie. It's like War Games if I wanted to sound brainy, or Sneakers if I wanted to sound sophisticated. Screw it, Hackers is still my favorite.
Awesome. Excellent.
Nice.
Well, I guess that's probably all the time we have for today. But really want to thank you, Jayson. It's been a lot of fun and very informative.
Cool. Thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate it, guys.
That's all for this week's show. Be sure to follow the Shared Security Show on Twitter and Instagram for the latest news and show updates. If you like this episode, please hit that like and subscribe button, and please subscribe to us on your favorite podcast listening app. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for another episode of the Shared Security Show.